Hello, dear listeners. Editor JT here. After many requests and lots of planning, we're excited to announce we've officially sold out to Big T-shirt, and Deprogram merch is now available. As we all know, you're not a real communist unless you sell products to your listeners. And friend, have we got some products for you. We collabed with some very talented designers from the community and came up with a bunch of designs we think you'll love. Whether you want a sticker for your laptop, a Chattanooga state-affiliated media hat, or Hakeem's patented I'm So Tired coffee cup, we've got a little something for everyone. It's a great way to feed your crippling consumption habit and support the show while you're at it. The merch is available right now at fourthwall.com/thedeprogram. That's fourthwall.com/thedeprogram. Now, on to the show.
I look like the coziest boy right now. I'm wrapped up like a cute little, not that little, more like a fat ass tortilla. It's because it's painfully early where I'm at. But this immense human sacrifice of waking up at 8 a.m. is more than worth it. To be able to have, obviously, our brilliant guests on today, all the way over from the continent that doesn't exist, Australia, which makes me think, actually, if you're Australian and you never traveled anywhere and only interacted with people online, you probably think like all nations that, fall west of you geographically are just very sleepy boys because, they're always half dead whenever you're awake and talking to them. Is that true?
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I didn't want to offend you guys. Yeah, you guys are incredibly sleepy. I don't know what's going on. It's 6 p.m. It's the sun's still out here. I'm very confused by what's happening.
You say that, but you're literally drinking a coffee at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So he's the real sleepy boy here.
I have an insensitive question about Australians. Excuse the potential racism.
You can't be racist.
When the sea levels rise, will you guys still be a country because all your cities are just right on the edge?
Well, I think it'll be nice because I think all the rich areas, which are
Like ocean
built on the ocean, they'll all be underwater. So hopefully the poorer areas or areas further away will become ocean front. So it's like, that's my plan, is to invest there. Global warming comes in and takes out the rich people.
Exactly right. That's
a little communist climate change. I love that.
I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. For the climate denial crowd, that's an absolutely perfect pitch. Get all the rich
they'll
ones.
find ways. Yeah, they'll find ways to take insurance claims out on it and then just offshore the costs to the rest of us.
Is that why you guys spread your podcast around 3 different countries to kind of have the best bet in case the sea levels rise? At least like one of you will survive.
Not only,
I think it's more.
Yeah, go.
I think it's more to have a safe haven for when the inevitable hammer comes on. Most likely, our boy JT.
Yeah, rip me.
Exactly right.
Isn't it funny? Like Abi and Hakeem, both from basically what you could define as third world countries, and yet probably JT has the most to worry about when it comes to being an online activist. So
we might bomb you guys, but I might get arrested.
No, it's okay. It's okay. JT will come and lead the revolution from afar, and Evie will be the his daughter. She'll be the soldier on the ground. She'll be organizing everything. She'll be our
fighting on the front lines of the water wars. Yeah.
Inshallah.
And obviously we are like massive hypocrites as socialists, and we use the fact that we are on 3 different continents basically to avoid paying taxes, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
I don't think
this is a joke, by the way. We all pay our fucking
we weren't joking.
Okay, speak for yourself, my guy.
We were thinking,
Speak
how
for
much
yourself.
do I reveal about my tax evasion on this podcast?
Exactly right.
Patreon's probably
this is a tax evasion podcast, so we're gonna have a nice, thorough discussion on how exactly.
You guys are gonna get me arrested. Jesus Christ!
My plan on the podcast was
you invest in art. Get some bored apes. Sorry.
No, my plan was just to name drop different things I've purchased recently in the podcast, just to be able to claim it on tax, to claim that I needed to buy them in order to talk about them on the podcast.
Fuck me, that is absolutely incredible. That is very smart.
Nor would it work, but even in my shithole country, my God. It's the only part that works. The tax people, they're the only people who.
I had to officially become the bourgeois in order for me to pay taxes because obviously nobody understands what the fuck like Patreon is over here. Probably everywhere. I'm not saying that we're special, but everybody told me, you have to like open a firm in order for you to be able to declare your taxes as income. And I opened like a firm that's defined as a media firm or whatever the fuck. And like not even knowing, the other year, I pay my taxes on this these pennies that I make through this shit. And they hit me up and they're like, oh no, actually you can get like tax deduction. And I'm like, from what? And they're like, well, basically the videos you make, they can be defined as documentaries, mini documentaries, and they kind of to an extent are, I guess, question mark. And that is classified as art, and the artists in EU or whatever get like a 30% tax cut. And like the IRS, the local IRS called me to give me a tax cut, like a guy that makes random videos.
Wow.
Imagine what they do with like people that make like millions upon millions. They're literally like, please don't give me your money. It's absolutely incredible. But then if you fuck up and don't pay them, instead of paying, I don't know, 10K, you pay them 9,990. You forgot the $10. They'll come down on your ass without even blinking twice. It's the paradox of wealth that we all know all too well. But obviously we don't have the easiest money laundering method on planet Earth, which we will talk about later, which you boys have literally as dispensaries on every 20 meters.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was about to complain about getting taxed here, but actually no, it's a million loopholes.
Yeah. Well, you just need to get paid in cash. That's just need YouTube to start sending us bills to our our letterbox, and then we can use that tax evasion.
We were so close to convincing Susan to do it. Now they like changed her to some other guy, and now I have to start all over again.
He's not a fan of cash.
We'll get him next time.
JT and I think we have a common parallel where it's like you don't know exactly how much you owe.
Yeah.
And you can't ask them. Like they won't tell you, but you have to get it right.
You must get it right. You cannot overpay, or they will charge you. You cannot underpay, or they will charge you.
They charge you a negative amount of money.
Overpay. You basically are tipping them, and then they charge you extra after tipping.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, that's
ridiculous
bizarre.
system.
It's and you gotta sit there with a fucking board official waiting for 2 hours until they get back to you just to tell you to go fuck yourself. It's the most infuriating process, and that's why everybody has to have a guy. As our dear Gopnik says, you have to find a guy who will look over all this nonsense and then somehow finagle it. I don't know.
There you go. I mean, as a socialist, you can excuse so many things. For example, you can excuse corruption, like having a guy, cutting in line, doing shit like this, because obviously the whole system is fucked up and corrupt. And yet another, me, the lowly working man, participating in this corruption is excusable. Or obviously the greatest excuse I've ever heard, you don't pay your taxes because 60-70% of it goes to the military-industrial complex, and then goes and blows up Hakeem, basically. So that's why you don't.
I would like to pay for that.
Thank you. Very selfless of you.
You would do amazing.
Finish what we started. Go ahead, Australia. Go on, finish the job for us.
Oh my god, dude! Do you know a fucked up thing? Do you guys remember the video you made where you went to the arms
Convention? Yeah.
I don't know, expo. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there was that guy, the Australian war criminal, who was in his Darth Vader suit, and he was like, "Yeah, so you just kind of disassociate, so you can basically kill people without feeling anything."
Yeah, that was
that
was so insane. I mean, I was very happy talking to him because I was like, "Oh, he's just saying perfect things," but But at the same time, it is very confronting to see like how these people talk when they think you're one of them. It's kind of just like, this is all just bros having a chat about.
Well, it makes you realize that there are so many other people that share that exact same point of view and think it's normal if you can say it out loud. Because I thought if you're a murderer, you're not going to tell anyone, but it's weird to brag about it like that.
Yeah. And the thing is, I wasn't even really.
I was just gonna say, you've seen, like, all of us have seen these videos of American police in the U.S. and how they're so like mad with power and how they yell and all that and pointing guns at people and all this fucking get out of the grab, this fucking soy rage. Yeah, exactly. There's them and their soy rage. American military personnel, when they're occupying countries, take that times 100. That's what they're all like. There's no professionality. It's all basically like you're at the whim of. You could be shot in the back just because you looked at them, weird, and nobody will bat an eye. No, they like to pretend every time this comes up, some American war crime somewhere. You'll have some Reddit dweeb writing, "Oh, but actually in the middle they can be fucking court martial." And how many times has that actually fucking happened?
Yeah.
How many? Do you know how many times I've seen it? It's fucked up to laugh about. Do you know how many times I've seen this shit? And nothing has ever happened to these people. I can promise you. Anyways.
Well, we had yesterday. We were hanging out with a dude, Major David McBride. He was like an Australian soldier that went to Afghanistan, but it essentially became a whistleblower and showed how they were covering up all these war crimes. And he is the only person getting prosecuted from that served in Afghanistan.
He's potentially serving life in prison because he revealed the crimes of these soldiers.
Yeah.
It's like I like to look at it like people that are, I don't know, into My Little Pony, and you wouldn't tell anyone else you're into My Little Pony except if you know you're sitting with another brony or whatever the term was. Same with like war criminals or people in the military industrial complex, etc., etc. They behave like everyday dudes, but then when they realize somebody else is into My Little Pony or blowing up brown-looking motherfuckers, they obviously start talking about disassociation and start using all these fancy terms as, we expired many of them, which is the latest term I heard about basically killing a motherfucker. But yeah,
we liquidated.
Yeah, liquidated.
Vaporized.
But that one is scary now, but just expiring them, because that's what they used to use for animals. The animal expired when it died naturally.
It sounds like a food product term or something.
Yeah, food product or like
before
processed.
The use by date, sadly.
Before the I was googling, like I ate some really nice lamb that was like they said like Swedish or Norwegian or whatever on the menu, and I was like, okay, this is like too good. Like, how do they make it this soft? And then I figured out that when they're little babies, they put them in very thick mud so that they can't move. And then, they grow them in this mud in which like not even the slightest piece of their muscle can develop but before they butcher it or whatever. And then I read an article on how to prepare it properly because I'm a soulless degenerate. Obviously. But and all the terms that they use for basically, massacring these tiny cute little baby lambs was... calves, sorry, not even lambs, I apologize, was, the processing the animal before the animal is processed, before the animal is... And we're seeing more and more of this language being used in conflicts as well, expiring, processing, but all of this is a cliche. Point is going to stop being a cliche is when we start fucking eating the people that we're invading. Okay, you guys
putting them in mud for 10 years before we eat them. I feel like that would almost be a better reason to invade countries than the reasons we have though. Right. At least you're getting something.
True.
Yeah, they're delicious.
You're suggesting we should start eating.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
But wouldn't like the super rich quote unquote whites like find an additional level of invented racism to be like if we're gonna do wars for that reason to eat the people, we gotta invade like more purer nations because I'm not eating that brown motherfucker.
Well, I feel like you just end up invading a obese country, I guess. Invading themselves. I don't know.
Yes, let's go.
Invade themselves.
Just kind of sedentary, obese population is. Where people are kind of just like trapped in mud by their own habits.
Capitalism,
yeah.
The American Cannibal Wars. I would pay money to watch that movie. Oh.
As chairman, I'll make sure to increase white-on-white crime, but at least 40%. I'm sorry. It's okay. You guys don't count. One of you is Balkanoid, and the other is. Are you ethnic Australian? You know what I mean. Like,
well, because
Angloid of the Australian variety.
I was born here, but my parents are actually born in China. They're Russian Russian Chinese.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
they-
let's go! All
they
right.
fled
See,
Russia.
yeah, exactly. No, nobody in this chat right now is white.
I feel
thankfully.
oppressed. I'm the only white guy here. I'm underrepresented. This is white genocide.
Your 1/64th Cherokee will save you. It's fine.
To be fair, Alex is kind of white. I mean, his family are white Russians. They're the ones that refused to get with the program and had to run away.
Yeah.
Fucking losers.
And then they got kicked out of China, but I guess everyone did at that time as well.
It's a long history of just like running away from revolutions.
Yep.
Just can't wait for the revolution to happen to here so I can get rid of Alex.
Exactly right. Hopefully the revolution happens in Australia and you guys will turn that non-existent country into...
To a country.
Use your uranium mines for good.
Welcome, comrades, Tavarishi and Habibis, to yet another episode of the Deep Program. Today, we have the pleasure of hosting some of the most popular, creative, brilliantly hilarious, no punches held back, balls the size of the moon, leftist content creators out there. The two legends from Boy Boy. Most of you probably know about their channel, or at the very least, know them by some of their classics, like getting a haircut in North Korea, impersonating a weapons dealer, and infiltrating a literal military-grade weapons convention, crazy shit like how much money can we launder in a day, and my personal favorite, Disney Made Us Gay, which honestly inspired me into devising a plan on how to get Hakeem and JT to Disney in order to finally make our dream of a three-way gay podcast family come true.
At last.
Jokes aside, these two managed to create incredibly class-conscious, scolding documentaries on the status quo, filled to the brim with fantastic argumentation while still making it absolutely fucking hilarious. And they do edgy React videos now too, which is obviously super fun. Anyways, without further ado, welcome, boys. How are we today? Could you please tell our guests a bit about yourself, and thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having us. I don't know what to say. You made us sound so cool in the intro. Now anything we say from now on is just going to be lame.
Yeah, it was great introduction. And I like it that you said you liked Disney Made Us Gay, because for some reason everyone that we've spoken to over the last month, they're just like, that's our favorite video.
Yeah.
It was like, something about it everyone loves.
I think they're trying to send us a hint that we should kiss.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
Not enough kissing content on our videos.
It wasn't the scolding commentary about the brain melting perspective of what are actual problems in society versus what typical thumbs / conservatives see as real problems in society. No. That's not why the video, why that particular video is that good. It's because you guys kiss like 20 times in it.
I can't speak to how people interpret the video, but our primary goal is just to kiss, and then like all this other stuff. Fair enough. That's. You work out a way to pat it out, but that was our intention with the video.
Yeah.
But I guess people have all these different readings of it, which is I guess nice to hear.
Yeah, that's it. It's like art, people interpret it in different ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I understand you completely, because basically the reason JT invited me and Hakeem to start this podcast is because we need to find a public outlet for our incredibly pent-up homoerotic energy that we throw at each other.
A podcast where you're in different countries, though, isn't the best way to do that. I feel like.
True, right?
You don't know what goes on when
By the time we meet up, oh boy, we've been edging for a long time. Tell you what.
Craziest foreplay I've ever
Exactly
seen.
right.
Yeah. You guys.
4 years of semen retention.
It was wild.
God.
Dr. Hakeem, is this healthy? Please tell me.
Yes, I see spirits now. Oh my God. I can tell you that Reagan is indeed burning in hell. This is what I can divinate.
Worth it.
Okay, so before we begin, even though we're basically 25 minutes into the podcast, I must ask, because it's been a very long-standing debate here on the show. Does Australia really even exist, or did white people just invent it so that they can do tax evasion and have a place to send all their bad whites?
It doesn't really exist. I don't know.
Well, there's a couple of things about it. Like, if you look at, if Australia does exist, like we say, it doesn't even really exist, because 99% of the population is in like 1% of the landmass.
Yeah.
So that's not really existing. But also your point of tax evasion, I feel like tax here is some of the most fucked in the world. So
Fucked as in high.
As a high.
As in great.
yeah, as in
The
great.
best.
But it's not a good place to avoid tax unless it doesn't exist, and everyone here
Yeah.
that comes here doesn't pay any tax. But we're paying tax here, so maybe we're not in Australia. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Because you have what's it called, Tasmania off the coast there, right?
Down the bottom.
Do you is it something that Australians regularly visit? Is it like I only know it from the cartoon, from the Tasmanian Devil, which is, by the way,
Yeah, when you said it, I was like, that's not a
Yeah.
fucking real place. That's where the guy that spins.
yeah, exactly.
guy.
Apparently, that's a racist like depiction of the indigenous people.
Oh, really? Oh, shit.
I-
okay,
Oh,
now I just
for real.
No, it's no. I didn't know this either. But then again, when is it a not insensitive depiction of some ethnic people? But sorry, no, go on. Tell us about Tasmania.
At least it's like a unique slur, like, oh, you spinning guys.
Yeah,
It's like, these spinners. Oh,
Yeah.
These spin.
These spinning people. Yeah. I wonder what they saw to come up with that slur. Very strange.
I'd like to know more about what the racists were
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah.
I'd like to platform these guys and tell me how you came up with the Tasmanian Devil.
Yeah, but
Like the Jews steal, the Indians smell, and the Tasmanians spin.
they spin around in circles. I
went to Tasmania.
I was actually just in Tasmania like 3 weeks ago. I did like a road trip there. And it's a fucking boring place. Like, it's one of the most beautiful places I've been to, but very quickly I realized, I was like, there is nothing here. It felt like what people say North Korea is like, where you see all these fake people walking around. Like, we're just driving down the highway, haven't seen a single side street or house for like 100 kilometers, and there's just a man walking. And I was just like,
Yeah.
where did he come from? Like, but yeah, very
just
boring
spawned,
place.
it's okay.
But I saw a lot of dead Tassie devils, so I didn't see them spinning. Maybe they got spun out by the car when they got hit. But yeah, just a lot of dead wildlife.
I mean, that might explain it. It's so boring that the only thing people do there for fun is just spin and die.
Yeah,
My God.
That's just like boring that animals killing themselves.
yeah, jump in front of cars. It's actually ridiculous.
Hold on.
Do you guys know at all about what the kind of... I'm sure deer probably do the same thing, but in Australia, when you're driving a car, the kangaroos will like run alongside and then purposely jump in front of your cars when you're driving.
You're really not helping us make Australia sound real. You're doing a bad job introducing it.
Guys, the capital and largest city of Tasmania is a place called Hobart. This place doesn't fucking exist. Hobart, fuck you. See, yeah, the indigenous name is Nipaluna, which actually sounds that sounds like a
cool,
vibe.
yeah.
I want to go to Nipaluna, but Hobart, fuck me. Oh boy.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, I never realized how dumb that is.
Hobart International Airport. Fuck you. Oh, and of course, there's the Rest Point Hotel Casino, which is Australia's first legal casino that opened up there.
Wow. Did it in Tasmania?
Yeah, apparently.
That's why people were spinning on the roulette so much that they started spinning after they saw it. Okay, I'm milking the spinning joke a bit too much. But isn't like half of the names of like the cities, obviously after colonization, basically just names of different English kings and queens and shit like that?
Yeah.
And also, like, you know, the American like whites that, you know, immigrated, like their great grandpa immigrated like 400 or 500 years ago. They do that little like nationalism of you know, we came, we civilized this land, you know, it would have just been like forests and completely useless. But how do like Australians that like are nationalistic, etc., sell it to themselves? Because correct me if I'm wrong in my history lessons here, but most of those guys were just like prisoners shipped off to work on the land. So like, what's the mental gymnastics they need to do to say, you know, oh, we came and we civilized this land from this and that, slur.
Well, I think it's very common. You hear it a lot where people, because there's a movement at the moment, or it's been happening for maybe last 5 years, to kind of move what is called Australia Day, which is currently on January 26th, which was the day the British, you know, arrived, their first day of invasion, to a different day. And there's a lot of backlash around that. And you commonly hear people say like, oh, why shouldn't we celebrate? Because, that's the day we bought, like we modernized Australia.
Yeah.
And they'll always say like, oh, Indigenous people have done nothing for 40,000 years and now we're bringing them like the wheel and stuff. And it's like, no, it's just completely strange because they look like they had actually the best lives in the world. Everyone was so happy. And then we came and killed them all. And like, oh no, they should be grateful for this. It's just like...
You gave them alcoholism and what's it called and
sugar, petrol.
No. You gave them alcoholism and basically having to go to HR because you clocked in 2 minutes after 8 a.m. and now there has to be a dialogue with your boss and some woman that you really don't like. Honestly, at this point,
I love how Hakeem thinks that is Western culture, like HR and alcoholism.
Yeah,
Pretty much. I mean.
As someone who's from the part of the world that's right in between the East and the West, I agree because we don't have the HR part, but we do have the alcoholism part. So the border, you gotta be influenced by the other ones. But
I think HR is much worse. I think it's probably the worst part of Western culture is HR. Yeah.
I've got no idea. I've spent so much time being a YouTuber. I don't know what HR is anymore. I'm so out of touch with the working class.
It's like the people that copyright your shit and they the ones that demonetize your videos, but always say this is in your best interest. That's basically YouTube HR.
I just want to again reinforce the lack of existence of just that area of the world by the fact that Hobart, one of its main things is a place called Cascade Brewery. Excuse me. It says, like many old buildings in Hobart, was built using convict labor, and they specifically differentiate between male and female convict labor.
What?
It's just, I don't know what to say. It's just so fucking ridiculous to think
Why are they saying it was
that
built
all
by
the
men?
Anglos that they didn't like in the UK were shipped off to this fucking.
Maybe it's because they're building a brewery and they
I'll-
were just like, no, it only has to be men. Maybe.
Or they can do the opposite. They can sell it like, you have a big placard in front of like a building from 300 years ago, and they're like, the first inclusive slave labor built building. We also used women. Women also built.
How progressive.
That's like the pink drones,
female
the
slaves.
drone striking Afghanistan, it's inclusive.
Exactly. It's the Israeli.
You can do it, Miha. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Pilots having the breast cancer awareness when they bomb Gaza.
Dropping depleted uranium.
Of course, boys, the most important bit of information from Hobart, and this will be the last thing I'll share from you. The TikTok artist Kim Dracula originated in Hobart. My God, what a vibrant.
Kim Dracula, man.
There's not
some bars.
By the way, there's not a single word on the indigenous population in this fucking article. Okay,
Except that they spin. Okay. Yeah. I said I'm not gonna milk it anymore.
Didn't they kill everyone in Tasmania?
Yeah.
That was like the main kind of like talking point for Tasmania.
I think it was one of the only successful genocides. Every single indigenous person in Tasmania was killed.
Yeah.
Wow.
And everyone there is accountable.
Killed by men and women.
Yeah.
So
And women.
Inclusive genocide. It was great.
Oh Lord! Do you know this is actually fucked? The Tasmanian population currently stands at 571,000 people. Do you know how many Aboriginals remain? If that even is like
3.
the correct way of no 6,000.
What the? Yeah.
6,000.
yeah.
That is. Anyways,
How many of them are women?
Yeah.
there you go. Exactly.
Wait, are you doing this research live right now, or have you been?
That's what
looking
he
up
does.
Hobart
He goes
facts
down these
for
little
the past
rabbit
week?
holes from a silly name, and just periodically throughout the rest of the episode, he'll start cackling and then read off a name of some white person.
Hobart.
Clicks on every single hyperlink from the Hobart Wikipedia.
Yeah, exactly right. All right, no, sorry. You guys go on. No, I'm just
But moving on from the Tasmania discussion, even though we'll probably come back to it at some point, many listeners might not know, but one of the hosts of Boy Boy is a fellow Yugoslav Balkanoid, which effectively makes me not the biggest left-wing Slav on the internet, an error we must rectify in the only honorable way, a rakia drinking duel to the death.
Very honorable.
Jokes aside, how's like the let's call it immigrant life in Australia, not just for Yugos, but as we hear Chinese, Russians, and everyone else, based on what you've seen your parents go through, but other nationals that are still moving in as well. Basically, how many boats get blown up in the water every week?
Yeah, I think it really depends on what kind of foreigner you are. I think I was pretty lucky in just like passing as a white guy, at least just like in the way I look, in that like we could have our own like cool, spooky little like exotic culture, but you only really had to address it when you wanted to. But we're really good at blowing up boats here. This is, I think we were some of the first, like, what is it, when we stopped the boats? We were like, we were successfully imprisoning like all these refugees in death camps to save them. It was awesome.
We're very good at that. But in terms of, how it's like, I think for my parents it was probably a lot harder because my dad and mum were both relentlessly teased for being like wogs. And that was just like, horrible teasing. If you didn't have like blonde hair, you're teased. But I think our generation is luckier, especially we grew up in the suburbs. And, the majority of our school and the schools around us were immigrants. So it's not really something. It was like...
I think my first encounter with like proper racism, we were looking for a house to like rent when my family first arrived in Australia. And we were in this part of Sydney, which is like predominantly Korean. And we were at this open house, and there was just like this white Anglo dude just standing there watching everyone go through and inspect the house. And I was wondering what the hell was going on. It turns out he's the neighbor, and he's just there kind of like trying to suss out who's gonna move in. Wow. And he walks up to my dad, and he's like, "Oh, it's good to see some real Australians looking at this house." And he doesn't realise my dad's like fresh off the boat. He turns around to him, he's like, "I thought we were all Australian." And like the guy like freaks out.
Really Australian, brother.
Yes.
But it's pretty ballsy for my dad. He's been there for like a month, and he's like, "Oh, I am Australian."
Happy to play the white guy card. No, I think
awful.
I think we love to spin.
But I think that's one of the good things about Sydney is how many like immigrants there are here, and in terms of like, it's when I go to other places, especially America, like I do get freaked out sometimes because when we were in Texas, I was walking around, I was like, it's only white people in areas.
Like, white people are like, I guess, Mexican.
Yeah, but I mean, there were some areas in America where we would just see white people compared to how different Sydney is. It just makes you feel a little bit safe.
The one thing that kind of grosses me out, that's not Australia. I think it's a migrant thing in general. Is like, I get really suspicious of Eastern European migrants. I'm a self-hating Eastern European guy, but no, it's just I find there's always like there's so many people who came here from Eastern Europe to Australia. I imagine similar in America that left in like 1945. And it's just, it kills me because you can always pick it. You can always pick whose family left when.
Yeah.
It's like, World War II's over. Suddenly, Europe's a bad place to be. I can't be in Europe anymore. Everything was going great until now.
I love how like those like emigres from exactly at the end of the war always like used excuse that their family left because obviously most of the time the commies came or the fascists lost, etc., and their great patriotic grandpa always talks about how when the country finally kicks out of the communists we will go back to the motherland, etc., and then they never do. They just still stay in whatever country they migrated
you say that
talk shit about.
But my granddad was actually like, so he was like far gone white Russian, when they were kicked out, he wanted the Tsar to come back, and he thought the royal family was still alive, and he thought there was a secret relative in Australia, and he was trying to find this man, and they were a descendant of Nicholas, and they were going to build a tunnel system from China and bring him back to Russia. And I don't know what they thought would happen.
So he can be hanged by his fucking ankles.
Yeah. Like, did they think they'd place the kid on a throne and it would just go zing, and like New Russia came up again, like.
Russia's back. We're all deindustrialized now.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how, like, I think it was the Serbian dynasty that run away over to the UK.
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
after 89, they came back, and they all speak this absolutely incredible Serbo-Croatian, which is basically they don't fucking speak it
They
at
don't
all.
speak it, no.
I mean, I understand, okay, you migrate to a different country, or you're even born in a different country, and obviously you lose touch with the language of your forefathers or whatever the fuck. But you're supposed to be like, quote unquote, the father of the nation, the God's chosen leader of the people. And then you talk like, Ja, Jobber Jane, Cox, like, what the fuck, bro? Like, you had one job. Like, how is supposed to anybody to take you seriously? Yeah.
What is he doing with his time? That's what I find confusing. Like, he has nothing to do. He could potentially learn a language, like, as a bare minimum. I don't know what royal people do.
What, do actual work? That's why he's a royal. He just wants to fucking
chill out.
I mean, he doesn't have anything to do to such an extent that, correct me if I'm wrong, but like now he's pitching crypto as like, bring back the monarchy. There's a whole party that's I think it's called POX, Pokret Obnove Kraljevine Serbia. Yeah, the movement of making Serbia a kingdom again or whatever. And they want to, bring back the king. But even like in all of their like advertising campaigns and all of their PR, they avoid putting the prince in front of cameras to speak because he speaks like this, brother. And it's like,
it sounds like the Joe Biden method. It's pretty successful. If you got a guy that you don't like how he sounds, you just kind of hide him a bit. You don't let him do his gaffes.
That makes perfect sense. Once I remember his dad, the king, who is still alive, like went out to tried to give like a stern speech, waggling his finger about I don't even know something. And there was this massive crowd of like Chetniks, like proper right wing, nationalists, etc. And he said something grammatically very incorrect, and the Chetniks started losing their fucking mind. And then he started shouting at them in Serbian to stop talking, shut up, I am talking, your king is talking. And like he didn't know how to properly pronounce that in English so many times. Actually, he did a relatively decent job, but he probably thought, holy shit, I'm not saying this in the correct way. So he literally switched to English, shouting at this crowd of like 500 bearded fucking scary looking ultra nationalistic motherfuckers that probably like will punch you the second they hear you speak English. And their king is standing in front of them, the person they want to put on the throne,
is a cuck.
waggling, literally wagging his finger, screaming at them in English to stop talking. That is art. Like that is literal art manifest in front of you. You cannot write this. If somebody gave you a script and was like, "Oh, this is the scene we're gonna have you're like, what the fuck? That makes no fucking sense." But this fucking happens in front of our eyes. I mean, the absolute state of the post-socialist quote unquote world is always as obviously depressing and sad, etc., but also pretty hilarious. It is
the weird thing that you get. I mean, like I find that I always find a million more Chetniks here in Australia than I do back in the old country. It's like when you're
absolutely
there's some weird kind of radicalization. Maybe it's like you don't feel Serbian enough when you're in the West. So it's like, oh, what does it mean to be a Serbian? Oh, I gotta grow a beard.
I think the answer is a lot more simple. It's that all of them ended up in the cockpit. Tito had a very good plan for all these people, and these leftovers sadly did not get the cockpit treatment, so they just were left alone to fester in their nonsense.
I think it's probably a worse fate now to be like super cucked and have an English-speaking king. I think it's probably more merciful to have just died in the pit back in 1945.
Right?
Cool.
This is a relatively honorable fucking way to go out. Now it's just fucking embarrassing. Yeah. I love how like all the like that this is like worldwide when they want to like try and build like a monument to whatever, far right leader, and unless it's, the government officially doing it and then having a budget and paying for decent architects who like not architects, what's the word? Stonemasons? Is that who builds? I guess. But like when it's these like individual organizations that are usually like for hardcore right-wingers and pro-free market motherfuckers, usually filled with a lot of broke boys, right? And they don't have money for any stonemason, and then just somebody probably raises their hand from the crowd and from the group and he's like, man, I'm gonna make it either out of wood or actually out of stone. And it always looks so fucking incredibly bad. And they like have these massive marches where they're, walking around with torches torches or whatever to come and bow down in front of this or that leader of their great national movement. And it's usually them just bowing in front of basically what looks like a fucking stick figure. And it's just like, again, art manifest. You're watching this and you're like, you people are fucking serious. This is absolutely incredible. But most of the times, that's my kind of, to an extent, like love for specifically like Croatian, Bosnian, and then Serbian ultranationalists is like, obviously I'm not saying they're harmless and they probably do very fucked up shit. And now we're seeing like organizations that actually go on the street and do fucked up shit. But like 90% of these organizations are just an excuse to cosplay, quite literally, and to, sit with a bunch of other cosplayers and just eat and drink for like 12 hours and say slurs. That's literally it. And then they go home. Like they can't do anything else. I mean, you see the state of these guys, they're basically decaying. But, it's fun. But, when they're in Australia, for example, then they have a bit of a budget.
Yeah.
They send some money back home for, their great, to the motherland for them to build these ugly statues or whatever, or for those gatherings, blah, blah, blah. And they don't actually get to see, like, physically be there and smell the way these people smell at these gatherings themselves. So, the patriotism still remains and the hope that this, great movement shall be reborn one day. Etc. etc.
I think it's incredibly it's just incredibly depressing that they're even trying to build statues after the fact that the former Yugoslavia already has the greatest statue in existence. They've got the big gold Bruce Lee statue in Mostar. Have you guys seen that one? Because the ethnic divisions, it was hard to choose a popular figure that wasn't hinting towards one side or the other. And Bruce Lee was the only thing everyone could agree on. Beautiful.
Depaj Bruce Lee, udri Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Depaj gi svi. What was that fucking song?
Yeah, he was
I love
popular.
it. There you go, Bruce. Us communists should copy them. We should try and spin Bruce Lee as a communist. I remember this strategy, some group of very fringe, quote unquote, comrades. I wouldn't really call them that. They tried to sell fucking Caesar as a communist to kiss their nerds. Oh, that was absolutely fucking incredible. But moving on. It's been 5 years since you've made your record-breaking Eternal Classic, going to North Korea to get a haircut, a brilliant satirical look into the hypocrisy of Western exceptionalism, Orientalism, and mind-numbingly low levels of self-awareness. Now, almost half a decade later, Jesus Christ, we're old, nothing seems to have really changed. We good, they bad. I am very smart. So where do you think this innate sense of cultural superiority comes from, and how does it manage to still to this day, stay afloat? Why does the Westerner think everyone wants to be them, and if they're not them, then they're weird?
Well, I think it's because if you look at the views on the video's only gotten 2 million views. So, there's a lot more people in the world that still need to watch the video.
Yeah. Once they watch it, though,
then their old problems will be solved.
Fixed.
But also, I think it was interesting because after we released the video, I think the timing of us releasing it was with the discourse, of anti-war that was coming out, and it was nice that we did at least see some nice things happen with North Korea
Since 2017.
since 2017 that we released it. Not saying we had anything to do with it, but
I know it was pretty much.
it was nice that there were peace talks, which we were directly responsible for. I think that's
And we got a free haircut out of it, so it's just win-win for the world.
Hold on, Free. So you're telling me you're on the Kim payroll? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
we wish. We wish.
Bribed with a haircut.
There's
Give us
some
your
actual
contacts, bro.
there's some actual idiots who would make that an argument.
Oh, we had that a lot.
You guys are.
Yeah.
It was pretty confronting, at first. That was the first video we ever made, and then you get thousands of people being like, "You're a North Korean spy." And it's just it's such a weird thing to deal with as just a random guy who just made a video.
Yeah, especially we didn't make any money. We paid. We were just out of our own money. We're like, oh, we think it'd be fun to go to North Korea. Let's make this thing. And then everyone accusing you of being a spy. And some of them were great. They were like, yeah, Australians. Alexa Vulovic and Alex Apollonov, very Australian. And we're just like, what?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, they got us. We're very
boy.
classic North Korean names.
Yeah.
Did you get what I would do if I was basically super fucking racist? Is they're getting paid by North Korea, but obviously North Korea is so poor that they can't pay them in money, so they pay them in a haircut.
It was a really good haircut.
And we had some nice food there as well. They had like the craziest kefir. You guys know, like the kind of fermented
Milk.
kind of like
yeah.
milk, but it was like the most fermented kind I've ever had. It was like bubbling, carbonated, and like it had little clumps.
That probably means it was bad kefir. So I remember that as well. I thought it was delicious, but now thinking back on it, it was probably just because it was
off.
It was off. Yeah, that was probably why.
I had like 10 glasses of it.
I love the haircut. That's basically my everyday haircut. So to an extent, I hoped that Kim actually instilled everybody should get this haircut.
Yeah, it is
Everybody
it's
should
the
get
classic haircut. You know.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
I've only ever had that haircut since then.
Yeah. But in terms of you asked like, oh yeah, why is not much changed? I think it's probably as well because it's so easy to make up lies about North Korea and countries like that where there isn't their own source of media to disprove it.
Yeah. And like, who's gonna go and fact check this? Like,
Yeah.
apart from really cool people like us. But other than that,
And everyone loves North Korean stories as well. You know, they're just so quirky and funny. You just make up whatever you want, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I believe this." And also the incentive to do it as well. Like it makes clicks. You know, people like these stories. Like
at least like the. I mean, in 2017, I honestly thought like maybe they would bomb North Korea. There was like pretty heightened tensions for a little while, and that's kind of simmered down. But I guess we got China now.
Yeah,
that's the next fun one.
Yeah.
Australia's
rip us.
Which Asian country can we be super racist against this week?
Well, it's been China for a while, and it's the media here is pretty insane against their attacks against China. It's literally just like not even questioning whether there's going to be a war. It's more like when it's going to happen, and like what we need to buy more weapons because China's so strong. It's like
the conservatives are like, we're going to go for war next year, and liberals are like, no, we're going to do it in like 2 months. Like this is you're crazy, you're wrong. Yeah, there is no like independent voice out there. Like
Hold on, you're telling me that in a capitalist system, there is no free press? Is that what you're trying to say? Are you some sort of filthy commie?
I've got a question. Speaking as the poor American who is forever trapped to roam this wasteland and not allowed to go anywhere cool, what was the process of getting to the DPRK like for you guys? Because Americans just can't go anymore as of 2017.
That's since Otto Warmbier.
Yeah,
we it was really, really easy for us. Like probably the easiest country to get into, just because like, I guess when you're applying for a visa for any other country, you go through all these checks, and they have to kind of vouch for the fact that you're going to be running around unaccountable inside the country. But in North Korea, the visa's so easy.
Not gonna stay. Ooh, our jobs. Yeah.
Yeah, North Korea, it's so easy because like they know that you're going to be with a guy the entire time. Like there's really, it was so quick and easy.
Yeah, and that was the thing that I almost felt bad about in terms of like, because when you do it, everyone's like shocked. You're just like, oh, how did you do this? You're so cool. And you're just like, I would like to say I'm cool, but we literally just sent a picture of our faces to a company, and they were like, here's your visa, come on in. We'll like arrive at this place, and then we got picked up by a guide. They gave us food. They took us everywhere.
It was
probably the easiest country.
Safest place.
Wow.
Yeah. But
You only had to pay with a haircut.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing that pissed me off so much about North Korea, like traveling there, is that I guess a lot of the people who go there are there for like adventure tourism. They're these like insufferable hipsters that want to be like, like show off that they've done something crazy and dangerous. And like, obviously, like North Korea is not a super fun place. Like it's people are poor. They're struggling. But the most annoying thing is like whenever it doesn't live up to the dangerous kind of spooky stuff that these tourists are looking for, they start just inventing things to be scared of. It was so like the first time we got in there, like as soon as we were getting in, we're on a train, we were going like a couple of 100 kilometers. I don't know what that is in your metrics. Actually, wait, no, you guys are all. There's only one American.
We're all normal except JT.
You tell me how far it is in football fields, and that's the not the round one that you kick with your feet. That's the real football.
But we're traveling like hundreds of kilometers to get to Pyongyang, and we're passing all these cornfields, and like all the tourists there on the train were just like, oh, it's fake corn. Like
Yeah,
they
it's
put
all
it,
plastic.
Oh my
They
god!
put it there for us, so so to convince us they're not starving. We're just like,
Come on.
it's a million times easier to grow corn than to make fake corn. Like
Yeah,
fake corn's
exactly.
so like labor intensive compared to planting corn.
And we had it other times when we were actually in Pyongyang, and we're on the subway, and people were like accusing to the guide that these people we were seeing were like circling back around to make it look like there were crowds. And this guy was like, "Oh, I've seen that guy before. I've seen that guy before." And I was like, "No, you're just racist."
It's
Oh my god.
These same guys everywhere. And there's a girl version of him too.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's the realest danger of going to North Korea. Just not killing the other tourists you're there with, and then going to jail.
We were being
You probably
careless.
get like a
though.
People's Award or something. Yeah.
We were being careless because I remember at one time, like at one of the last nights, we all got smashed in the hotel room.
Yeah.
We were like singing karaoke, singing great Korean songs, but then at one point they got out like a book. I don't remember exactly what the book was, but they were like doing
it was like quotes
impersonations
from
of Kim Jong-un, and everyone's laughing. And I was like, "Oh, this is this is dodgy, like Otto Warmbier territory," and nothing happened. So I was kind of like, it's. They obviously don't like that bad press of killing a tourist, but it's...
But as much as our video kind of like, tries to show North Korea in a nicer light, there was some like pretty strange stuff going on.
Oh yeah, there was strange stuff.
Some was just so sad. Like you go to this like museum of like all the gifts that different countries have given to the Kims to like express their gratitude, and like you'd go into this exhibition, and the tour guide is like, this is because the Samsung is a Korean company, and the CEO is actually a very proud Korean, and he thinks North Korea is the real Korea, and he loves Kim Jong-un so much. He gifted us all this like top of the line high tech Samsung technology. And you look, and it's a cabinet full of Macintosh computers from the 90s, like early Apple computers.
Yeah.
And then you just have to like look at this woman, and like I'm trying really hard not to laugh or like even cry. I don't know.
It's hard because you sympathize with them having to put on this act to pretend, that everything's fine and great, and you're just like, please, you don't have to do it to that level. It's like
one of the most badass things.
When
I
you're
saw,
that isolated, you gotta pitch it to your population as
Yeah,
much
exactly.
as
And
much
under
as you
siege
can.
for half a century.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think one of the sad things is that like they got quite they got a bit upset when we would like take photos of just like people in the countryside. Like there'd be a kid like kind of playing around in like
in a river.
and they'd be like, oh, this is a bad photo. Like he's not wearing shoes. He's not wearing shoes. He looks poor. And it's like, dude, people don't wear.
Yeah.
I was like, I haven't worn shoes in 3 weeks, and I live in Australia. Like it's like
I didn't know this, that it actually kind of, I mean, it's understandable that it got to them the very like insane perception and stupid perception that people have of their culture, their nation, their country, etc., etc. So, like it's kind of even understandable to be overcompensating in a way. But I mean, every nationality fucking does that.
Of
like,
course.
To an extent, people are like now, because I have a lot of Russian friends. Whenever like I introduce them to somebody else from any random different nationality, and then the person asks, "Oh, where are you from?" And very often nowadays, semi-jokingly, but also like, it's uncomfortable. They say, "Oh, I'm Russian," and yeah, I'm not gonna kill you, and oh, I'm against the war.
Yeah,
they
I hear
immediately
that
have
a
to
lot.
say it.
I used to do those.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, it's pretty lame. I used to say that all the time.
Yeah, they
gotta,
say I'm
like,
Russian, but I'm not a bad one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, shit like that. Oh my god, exactly. But I'm one of the good ones. I'm like,
Yeah, that's
man,
so
you're
cool.
internalizing so hard, bro. Like, fuck it. But yeah, it's it is what it is. But in another instant classic, you guys grabbed your massive balls of steel and went straight into the most powerful Australian industry, casinos, and showed us just how easy it is, quote unquote, to launder a shit ton of money in a matter of hours, and nobody will come stop you, even if you wear a bloody t-shirt saying, "I am laundering money," while you're doing it. Hilariously depressing video. Everyone check it out. But we have to ask, are casinos really that big of a player in Australia? Like, Americans have opioids and junk food, Eastern Europeans have alcohol, all Arabs have impossible to satisfy parents and spouses, but Australians have casinos as the ultimate, quote, capitalism coping mechanism. Is it just because you all are great-grandchildren of criminals, or is there a more systematic issue at play here?
I mean, it is probably the criminals, but we'll try to pretend that it is for the sake of the discussion. It's really big here. Like, the casinos are massive. I didn't really realize, because you grow up with it, but like, statistically, we've got like 60 times more slot machines per person than any other country in the world, than the next runner-up. And like, I remember, because we thought it was kind of normal, and then when we first time we went to America, we're like, oh, let's go to Las Vegas. Like, it's going to be a crazy time. And then we got there, we're like, oh, like this is literally just my suburb. Like, I don't.
And what's crazy about it is that they're not even called casinos. No. So it's like we have things just called clubs. They're just clubs and bars. So every single bar you go to in Australia has probably around 50. The big ones will have 50 to 100 slot machines. And that's normal. That's every single pub and club. And then you, on top of that, have the casinos where you do slot machines plus all the other card games. And it is such a common thing. There's a common phrase in Australia like, do you want to have a slap? And that's like, go and slap the poker machine, because everyone does that. Like, it's so fucking common. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know what the root of it is. I mean, maybe spinning it in a nice way, I think, like, Australia's fairly well off. I think people have a lot of disposable income. Well, not obviously. We've got lots of issues. But, like, I don't know, compared to a lot of other countries, we need to throw our money at something.
I wonder if it's something to do with, because a lot of them originated in RSLs, which is retired servicemen's leagues. And I think it was something to do with...
What is that?
So it's like a veterans club.
It's a veterans club. And we have them in most suburbs will have a veterans club here, and it's not like they're actually even the majority of people there are not veterans. No, but that was probably one of the loopholes where they started to introduce gambling, and because gambling happens there, and then all the clubs have, poker machines, and it's just really sad because these clubs are billed as a thing that's meant to help veterans and help the community. But they're taking millions and millions of dollars out of it, and it's just insane.
But you're telling me, like, okay, I'm going to the pub for a beer with the mates.
Yep.
And, you sit, you're chatting, and in the background you hear chuk, 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 the actual fucking machines. They're just absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
So at some point they're going to start putting it in schools, in kindergartens, at the bus stop, like, there was water dispensers.
There was an Australian school that someone took a photo where from the preschool you could look inside and see the slot machines in the RSL club next door. So that's not even a joke. It's literally happening. Like,
I mean, personally, because I don't gamble, so like I kind of like having the slot machine.
What, are you even Australian, bro?
Yeah, I'm an imposter. But there's real benefits to having that many slot machines around. Like, every pub you go to, like where the slot machines are, you can smoke in there usually, so it's like you don't have to go outside. Also, they offer heaps of like free food and
free nuts and pretzels
and drinks to people gambling. So you're just having fun at the pub, and you just walk in there, pretend to be a gambler, and just take all this free food and then go back out. It's
fuck yeah.
It's pretty convenient.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about Vegas. It's because everything is cheap, because they expect you to come and want to spend all your money on gambling. So you get cheap drinks, cheap food. The accommodation's fairly inexpensive. So yeah, if you're not a gambler, it's a good place to be.
It's a great place to go. Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly a conversation that I had on a balcony last night at like this birthday party, and obviously Balkan heads being Balkan heads, they're like, man, whenever I was broke when I was younger or whatever the fuck, I would go with literally like $10. They would go with $10. They would put it into the machine, and they would play for like 5 cents or 10-cent plays, and then have like 4 drinks. Even ask them for cigarettes, ask them for sandwiches, and you like eat and drink like a motherfucker, and you just spend $10 and you leave. So to an extent, if you have the proper quote unquote hustle mindset, you can outplay the casino.
We just need everyone to do that.
Oh yeah, they finally get our money back from the gambling industry.
Eat their weight in sandwiches, and then they'll go down.
like literally sit down and like if you play for $100, you tell her I want the $100 worth of sandwiches. So even if you lose, you're in a plus, and even if you win, then Jesus Christ, you can tell her you gotta pay me in sandwiches.
I don't know that eating $100 worth of sandwiches would be a win in my book.
I think it would,
but that's just me.
It's like the next version of card counting, is sandwich eating. You have like a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
You need to work out how many sandwiches you need to eat to make your money's back.
No, I have a better idea. You do a mutual aid organization, but you don't have a budget. So you walk around the city and you find, for example, 50 homeless people, and you wouldn't be able to feed them with $5 per homeless person.
Yeah.
But you give each of them $5 in cash, and you send them into the casino, and you just have a cordon of homeless people constantly walking into the casino so that they can eat.
In the United States, they'd be taken out back and shot.
Yeah. And that's it. The casino profiles people so much that it's like you just can't get in if you look disheveled at all. Although we did another video with the casino, which we're actually banned from the casinos in Australia for life for one of our other videos, which we
Tell me more.
Yeah, we did this because while COVID was big in Australia and the COVID restrictions.
Oh yeah, that was.
Do you guys have COVID over there, or is that just an Australian thing? It was pretty big here.
It's an Australian thing.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. But yeah, they were doing temperature checks and restrictions and stuff, and then we tested whether the casino was following these rules.
Oh, look, the joke was, I mean, they weren't. They'd already been caught breaking the rules, and they got fined like $5,000.
Yeah.
Fucking insane. Like, that was how much I would get fined for, like,
How will they recover?
for going a kilometer away from my house during the lockdown.
Yeah.
It's like multi-million-dollar.
Yeah, so we went there and we did stuff like we were wearing a heat pack under our hat. So like my head was heated up to like 54 degrees so that when they scanned my head with their thermometer, it said I have an extreme fever. Yeah. But it didn't matter. I should be dead, yeah.
Like,
They just let you in. I love Hakeem as a doctor. You will love this. One of them literally dressed in the hospital gown and took like a whole IV with him. You literally. And he went to the casino and he was like, I just got out of the hospital for COVID. Can I go in and gamble? It's fucking incredible.
Yeah, they let me be. It's all nonsense. It's all meant to be just a fucking show. It's so obvious. And your money laundering thing clearly made that very, very clear.
I mean, it's so powerful that they get quite brazen in how, when they're unaccountability. It's just, they don't have to do anything. They're not going to get in trouble.
Man, it's so depressing because most of the people you see in those places, like in the U.S. too, like if you go to WinStar, it's just like old people. Like you'll see people with their oxygen tanks in there, like people who clearly don't have money to be shoveling into these machines, or just they're spending 8 hours there. It's
people on their pension as well, using all of it.
Yeah.
It's
Such a creepy place to be as well, because they do that weird, like, constant, twilight. Like, the lighting is so confusing.
Yeah.
It drives you crazy.
no windows and everyone's zombified but it's
so you don't know what time it is, so you don't think that a lot of time has passed.
But it's just funny that you can do that, because I feel like our generation, we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be playing like weird fucked up VR computer games. That's going to be our distraction when we're old, and gambling like for crazy VR porn and stuff. It just shows you it's like the most slot machines are so fucking boring. They're the most boring game in the world. I hate it. Like,
I don't get it. I don't get it.
They probably just hit a generation of people that never had video games.
Played
now
Pong.
Now they're like, whoa. Cherries are spinning.
He goes, woo, woo, woo.
Yeah, bells.
Apples! Oh, I got all the apples in the line. Woo, apples! And now, oh my god, they updated it now. Instead of apple spinning, there's like werewolves and vampires. I actually played one like that. And you want to get a line of like werewolves instead of the vampires, instead of the zombies. That's an actual slot game. Like, what the
They're all racist in Australia as well. They all have stereotypes like Lucky Fortune, Golden Dragon, and it's like Smiling Buddha, or one was just called Indian Temple. It was just like a hot Indian girl. It's like, okay, who's this for? Like,
I remember thinking back at Hakim when I won like $20 at one thing like 2 months ago. It was literally called Habibi, and it had like a ultra stereotypical like Aladdin looking guy on top of it, and it was all red. And you sit down, and the second you press a button, it starts playing like Oriental music, and it's fucking. And when you win, it goes like even more hardcore. It's very weird. It's very weird. But they know their target demographic, I guess. So they're like, oh, they're gonna see a Buddha, they're gonna see a Muslim, they rub the nose of the slot machine or some shit. I'm gonna get some fucking money. But I have a friend that's like, he's very like financially stable or whatever, and he goes like, I don't know, every week, but he's relatively disciplined for now, even though I'm encouraging him to really stop, because we all seen how quickly that addiction can develop. And the joke in the Balkans is probably international is the reason casinos are worse than being a drug addict is because with drugs, how much can you steal? Some silverware and then you kill yourself. But with casinos, you can absolutely ruin your whole family, right? And not only hurt yourself. But I went with him a few times. Whatever, I sat down, I spent some $50 on blackjack, which by the way, from what I've like played in video games, you only have hit and stop, but in casinos they wanna like take all your fucking money so you can like bet on other people's cards, and then you can bet on your individual cards and triple bet, and they're always asking you, here you can get 4x, and like I'm like, no, I just want to play the like normal game. But I'm ignoring that every time. When I walked in, it's like the twilight and everything, but like nobody is happy.
No.
Like at all there. It is incredibly
vapid, glum.
Glum, exactly.
No expressions on the faces.
That's what we realized when we were doing our money laundering video. So we were like consistently trying to get caught laundering money. We'd have like costumes and different, like, the shirt that says I'm laundering money. But at one point I was in there in like a 1920s burglar costume, like pinstripe, like prisoner outfit. And I had like a handful of like $10,000 and I was just laundering it through the machine. But yeah, you notice that people are not present. They're not actually there. It's so bizarre. Like I'm running around them in this insane costume, like jumping around, looking over their shoulders, and just no one notices. It's the most depressing place in the world.
Yeah, I think the only person that noticed was the security guard on the way out. Didn't say anything bad. He just made a joke about it.
Yeah.
But no one else said.
You got lucky today.
Yeah, no one else said anything. It's like it's just
But that's the beauty of just hiring people that you don't even pay enough to give a fuck. If a little burglar walks in and starts laundering money, which is a win-win for you as the casino owner, because obviously you pay them less, higher profits for you, and also you don't need to tell them to turn a blind eye to freaky behavior.
Yeah, they're just not going to do it.
They will just do it because ain't nobody fucking around. Like that epidemic, as they call it, obviously, it's not an epidemic to be poor, but it's an epidemic to steal shoes. In the States, people just walk in, whatever, like a shoe store, and they just take all of these expensive sneakers and they walk out. And obviously, the staff, etc., is actually explicitly told not to chase them, not to grab them, not to hold them. But I love how they were told not to do it, as if someone like on minimum fucking wage is about to fight like a 6-foot motherfucker over a pair of shoes that they don't even fucking own. It's bro, good luck with that. That's, I guess, the additional weird layer of cop psychology, because you're like, why are you even doing this? But then again, they at least in the States, from what I hear, they get paid relatively well to be the hound dogs of capitalism, as cringe and larpy as it sounds. But like that's impressive. Like fucking, like absolutely everywhere. It's ingrained. It's like every place you go to has a toilet and has casino-related items. To me, it's, I don't know. Call it a culture shock. It sounds weird. It sounds strange. But then, that leads you to a, pattern of thought that, there is no such thing as, society, meaning there is no, like, there is nothing which the bourgeois cannot convince us into thinking is absolutely normal.
Yeah. And there's like a weird kind of amnesia as well, because like there are things in the past that people look back and be like, oh, how crazy is it that people did this? And it's just like, but as soon as it's happening currently, it's just people are blank to it. You know?
Yeah. And moving into arguably our last topic of today, rich people, pretty cringe, am I right? I remember growing up under the allure of one day becoming a big G, owning this and that, being treated right by everyone. And today, as someone who has made it, as someone with the world's most sought-after profession, the podcaster, I must say it's not all that it's cracked up to be. The rich are now called Nepo babies. Their houses look less like castles and more like what an architect would make if he was getting design tips from Cthulhu himself. They can't even dress sharp anymore because it's either considered too flashy or too posh. Why do the rich even do it anymore, in your opinion? Are they just vampires at this point?
Definitely vampires. I mean, like that, and pedophiles. I think is the other part of it.
I think that's a given.
But I don't know. I mean, it's so weird with rich people motivation. I feel like so much of it is like intimidation or like just showing people that you're better in some way.
And it's also probably part of playing the game in terms of once you get to that stage and you start to make money, you know, you're of this certain mindset where it's like the only thing you can do is make more and then be like, okay, I'm going to expand this, and that just continues. And then, you know, you've already fucked everyone over around you, and it's just like, why not keep going? So you can kind of see it, and it's like everyone in school is trained to do that. That's what you're kind of trained to do in this business world. Like,
although I did notice a difference between Australian rich people and American rich people when we went there. I feel like Americans are a bit flashier. It's kind of like you still got that like cool, kitschy kind of rich guy who's just like, look at all my stuff. And it feels like in Australia, it's still like there is a tiny bit of shame.
Yeah,
like
people don't talk about
try
it.
to dress a bit more not rich.
Well, an example, like in Sydney, the richest area is called the eastern suburbs. So it's this kind of like peninsula of Sydney that's surrounded by water. And rich people there, like if you drive around there, majority of people don't have shoes on. They're just walking around on the beach, and then they own these houses that are $100 million. You know, it's that kind of like,
all their kids are working in the local like grocery store. It's a strange. It's a slightly different culture. I'm not trying to make them sound cool. They're all dickheads.
They're all dicks.
But like it feels a bit different to what we experienced in America.
Yeah, the U.S. It's still very much here a status thing, and definitely the main difference I'd say from what you've described is the kids. That none of those kids are working at grocery stores in the U.S. The kids of rich people they're going to all the fancy schools, and then they're getting shuffled into, you know, whatever organization their parents are part of, or the CIA, or if they fail at that, then the media. And it's copy paste cookie cutter rich people here. They drive really expensive cars, nice clothes, branded things. And very vocal about, you know, what they do as not necessarily how much they make, but they will find a way to express how little regard they have for money they spend. So they'll talk about their, you know, they've got a house we're going down to the Hamptons for the weekend or whatever, you know, stuff like that.
We should go to the Hamptons next summer in America. Yeah, that's a place to be. Let's go there.
Yeah.
I want to be able to tell people that I'm going to the Hamptons. I don't even know what they are.
It's a chain of inns, I believe, the Hampton Inn. That's a joke for non-Americans. Hampton Inn's just like an average hotel.
Okay. I was impressed.
There's no. I think one thing that I've seen, at least in the United States, with people who are kind of like, who try to make the argument that they're not rich, that they're just kind of getting by. Like I saw something on Twitter today where this person was saying like, they're breaking down a month's income on a $450,000 a year salary, and they're saying, oh, we only spend $2,000 on groceries, $3,000 on entertainment. We put away $5,000 for savings, and they're like, they do all this. They break this stuff down, and they're like, and we don't have anything left at the end of the month. You're like, yeah, you've funded all of your retirement things to the maximum. You've spent $3,000 on entertainment. How do you even do that?
How does that look like?
What the fuck?
Yeah, and the person was saying like, well, that's actually you can easily spend $1,000 on a night on the town in New York City, and that's what our friends do, and we don't want to feel left out. It's like, come on, okay. So I think there comes a point where you start to lose touch with what getting by actually looks like, and there's this lifestyle creep, and then after a certain point, it probably becomes kind of a sort of, you're detached, but then you become bitter towards the people who you see as envious, to use the term.
Yeah, definitely. And then when you're at that stage as well, you probably look at the people at the top as well, and they're who you're comparing yourself to. So then it's this constant battle of peers, of these people fighting each other, just sucking each other off, being like, who I just want to become the best at this and make the most money,
But also,
suddenly you're at the bottom again. You're like the freshman.
Yeah,
coming
also
into the class
feel a bit bad because like they're almost like precluded from. They can't socialize unless they're doing evil stuff. Like it's like you're isolated from the community if you're not spending stupid amounts of money on something.
They don't know how to socialize either. Like if you look at Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk talking to people, it's like it's embarrassing. It's just like.
I mean, every time Musk opens his mouth or says something on Twitter, like, man. Like zero media literacy, zero self-awareness, and
guys, also no PR budget, guys. Please.
Apparently.
It shows. It shows. Fucking Emerald Mine Kid.
It works on someone. The amount of people out there calling him sir on Twitter is.
Sir?
Yeah, so there's horrible cucks everywhere. So I mean, he's doing something right for some way.
And when you see like 1 million fucking likes and retweets, you're like, Jesus, there's a million people. And like, I mean, I said this joke before, but Bill Burr had that great joke about the most efficient way to cleanse the world of all of the pieces of shit is just give away free yachting / cruise tickets and then just sink all those ships. But I have a better idea. Just have a very long list of everyone who's ever retweeted an Elon Musk post unironically and just cleanse them of this world. But what we were talking about previously, like I feel like the Australian type of wealthy person has more quote unquote wealthy people class consciousness than the very tacky, very showy off one, because they understand to an extent, be it consciously or subconsciously, that showing off too much, allowing the everyday peasant Joe to understand just how much power, wealth they have, just how more like expansive lives they lead, etc., will make average Joe more pissed off. Will make average Joe understand the kind of actual situation he is in, to understand just how basic his life is, just how like access to fucking nothing he has as compared to obviously the very wealthy person. So by creating this image of I'm not gonna buy a Ferrari even though I can afford it, I'm gonna drive a Volvo, my kids are going to end up with their own hedge fund, but I'll make them work at the grocery store or at the restaurant so that they can later say I'm not a 100 spoiled rich kid, etc. It's like the wiser approach to kind of upkeeping the image, the old image that in some parts of the world is forgotten, I guess, of the super wealthy, of being a job creator, a true member of the community, a pillar of the community or whatever. It's a very hats off to the enemy, sometimes deserving. It's a much more quote unquote sustainable approach to how they're pitching it. That's why, for example, in the States, we can see rising levels of, especially younger people, especially people entering the workforce and understanding, bro, I'm never going to have the lifestyle of the people I see on TV, or not even on TV, right across the street, living in the skyscraper or in suburbia, because they but because they get flashed at with the lifestyle all the time that they will never be able to achieve. That obviously radicalizes them much quicker than thinking that that guy with $100 million house is actually modest and kind and a job creator, etc., etc. It's I guess rich people have levels of class consciousness too, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. I think the nice thing about America, well, not nice, but the opposite about America is that, like, it's not, people are constantly grinding, right? You have this assumption that, like, it's not unattainable, and seeing such horrible wealth is actually a motivation because you know that you're going to be rich too. Like, this is...
Yeah, and you notice it in America as well, that it's quite common for people that have made it out of these poorer communities to really talk down upon the people from their community as this kind of tall poppy syndrome of, like, I've made it, so it's possible, guys.
Losers.
Like, yeah, you just must suck. Yeah. It's like,
Well, you must suck, but not in a good way or in a bad way. Now, speaking of which, like, by the way, for our beautiful listeners, both of our lovely guests, just imagine them both extremely handsome, tucked in together in the same room, spitting at a very large, erect microphone throughout this entire time. I'll leave you with that image in your brain. One day, we hope with JT and Hakeem, and why not with these two lovely gentlemen, we will have the opportunity to all speak around one mic in the same room, because genuinely, boys, like, appreciate the privilege of actually being able to actually touch your friend and your comrade or whatever, etc. Because sad facey face, we cannot do this.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
We'll touch each other a bit extra just for you guys.
Shit.
Thanks for having us on. It's pretty rare that we get to chat on, like, a outwardly socialist platform, because our whole angle is brainwashing people who, like, aren't specifically looking to get into politics.
Yeah.
So it's good to be a bit more open.
Please tell our listeners about where they can find your stuff. Obviously, everything is going to be linked below. Something that you're currently working on, whatever you want to plug. Literally, plug. Hey, buy my socks. Like, plug whatever.
we should release socks.
You would like.
We got
videos. We got YouTube, right?
Yeah. Well, we got two channels. So we got there's Boy, so it's more it's just political documentaries and reacts and stuff like that. Then I've got a channel called I Did a Thing, which is
just fantastic.
Just a making channel, kind of nonsense kind of guy that doesn't know how to make things, struggling to make things, and then chucking in politics when I can.
It's a pipeline.
It's really
from engineering to communism.
So you like to say that, but I do just like blowing stuff up without a reason as well. So that's
My favorite video of yours from that, by the way, was your what's it called? Beyblade, life-size Beyblade.
Yeah.
So much fun.
that was just
How do you come up with that?
stressful as well.
And the man holder one, that one was a vibe. I've seen the things around before. But again, like you see it and then you think and you're like, oh yeah, it makes sense that the US has militarized, like, full automatic assault rifles in school zones. So that's just a regular thing when you can have perfectly.
Yeah, well, that was funny though, because for that video as well, it was kind of like, I got a lot of criticism from people being like, what, you're saying police should have more weapons? I'm like, no, I didn't say that at all. I'm just saying there's an alternative to shooting a man that's tripping out on drugs, you know?
Yeah.
You could use a stick and catch him. Like, but yeah. In terms of videos we're working on, though, we've been working on an actually documentary for Boy for like 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
It's about China and kind of the way the media portrays China, similar to the North Korean one, but this one's centering around the dog meat festival there, which, everyone condemns Chinese people for eating dogs, but we kind of discuss, how we're kind of the same in what we do.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very excited for all your projects, boys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Boys. No, seriously, thank you for coming on. This, I think, was a absolutely brilliant episode. We would love to have you on again if you weren't too bored.
Yeah, that was great fun.
Next time, we will torture you. You will be recording at 1 a.m. or 9 a.m.
Yeah.
We will actually be not hangover or after a night shift or
God.
JT being a dad at 1 a.m. is apparently a fucking terrifying prospect for him. You can hear his fucking voice.
I'm gonna kill myself.
But seriously, check out the work below. Check out their Patreon below if you want to support it. I'll plug that as well. Check out our Patreon, without which we would not be able to do this ever. If you want to support the show and allow it to have fantastic guests like this, stay as independent as possible, etc., etc., go chuck us a few bucks if you feel like it. Share the show with whoever you think would be interested in learning more about, in this case, rich people, Australia, and native people apparently spinning all the time. And thank you for listening. With that being said, I'll hand it over to my beautiful soulmate Hakim to
do the stupidest outro of all time. But this has been the T Program. I'm Hakim.
I'm JT.
I'm Yugopnik.
And we're boy.